Hi, hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be going over my March reads and picking my April TBR. So in the month of March, I ended up reading 9 books, including all 8 from my TBR. Okay, first book that I ended up picking up in the month of March is I'm in Love with Mothman. I ended up rating this one 4.75 stars. I did really enjoy it, but the one thing that really threw me off and made it not a 5 star is like the dumbest reason, but like it's such a valid reason. Homegirl is taking care of a literal cryptid in her house and doesn't know he's Mothman. Like, Homegirl doesn't piece together that he's Mothman. Like, I'm in love with Mothman. Homegirl doesn't know he's Mothman until like I think the last 20% or so. Like, girl, did you really think that some weird moth-like creature was not Mothman? Like, I was just really thrown off that she was like, I don't know what he is, but he looks like a moth. Girl, it's Mothman. She finds a shrine that one of her like new townie friends has like made, and he's like an amateur monster hunter, and it's all these like news articles about Mothman, and she still doesn't put together that the guy in her house is Mothman. Like, I was just so thrown off. I like really couldn't grasp how Homegirl was like not putting that together. The next book that I ended up picking up in the month of March is Scythe and Sparrow. This is the third book in the Ruinous Love trilogy, I think is what it's called. But this is the one after Butcher and Blackbird and Leather and Lark. This one is actually one of my like favorites from the trilogy. I think Butcher and Blackbird is still the number one, but this is a very close second. I gave this one 5 stars, which after how kind of disastrous Leather and Lark was, this was a much welcomed thing. I feel like this one fully fleshed out our characters a little bit better, whereas Leather and Lark, we kind of hear a little bit of the backstory between these two and why they don't get along, but we don't really get much of their like motives, their reasons why they're doing what they're doing. Whereas with this one, we see Rose and why she is the way that she is. We get to see more of Fionn, who has been kind of like out of the circle for the first 2 books. He lives, separately from his brothers. So we get to see a little bit more about them together. And it also kind of connects in the stories of Butcher and Blackbird and Leather and Lark, since they are all taking place kind of simultaneously. I mean, Butcher and Blackbird does technically start off the trilogy, but you can tandem read them. I've seen a couple of posts about an order for tandem reading and how you can read the first couple of chapters of Butcher and Blackbird and then go to Leather and Lark and then go back to Butcher and Blackbird and then start up this one. And so I think that's super interesting that they are all kind of intertwined and connected. And you can see multiple events from the other 2 books happening in this book from other point of views. The next book I ended up picking up in the month of March was Monsoon Rising. This is the sequel to the Hurricane Wars. I ended up giving this one a 4.5 stars. I can't really go into it too much because it is the sequel, but it really picked up kind of right where we left off. There's still so much tension between our 2 main characters. So this one is kind of a marriage of convenience a little bit. They were enemies fighting a war, and then secret identity gets revealed, and they decide that they need to be married to kind of help their kingdoms, reconcile and be back on better terms. And so there's still lots of angst, lots of pining. They're not supposed to want each other. They're not supposed to like each other, but they end up like realizing they're more similar than they thought. They do want, the same things at the end of the day. They're just going about it very different ways. But there was a twist ending in this one, and now I literally cannot wait for the next one. I believe this is a trilogy. I'm not 100% sure, but fingers crossed the next book in this series is the last one, because I need them to just get together, admit that they're in love, and I need to figure out what the heck happened with that twist ending. The next book that I ended up picking up in the month of March was actually outside of the TBR, kind of not a shocker there at all, because I've been straying from the TBR just a little bit every month, giving myself a little bit of wiggle room. But I ended up picking up Iced Out at my local half-price books. I've had this book on my radar for forever. I keep seeing it on Pengo Books, and it always gets snatched up like right before I'm able to, pull the plug and decide, yep, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And so found this at Half Price Books, decided, yes, this is the time. I'm getting it. I want it. Just a regular, everyday college hockey romance. We know I'm a sucker for those. Truly a good potato chip book. I love it. We are following Maya and Easton, and Maya has been in relationships with hockey players in the past, and it just doesn't end well for her. So she's decided to give up on them. She's decided that it's not worth it. And Easton is actually her brother who plays hockey. It's his rival. So she goes to one of their games to support her brother and ends up at a bar meeting Easton, and Easton decides he's going to change her mind. So it follows their little relationship journey, how they're going through things. Maya's very, very school driven. So she's really focused on, completing her degree early. She's going to be graduating a year sooner than she should have. So with this one, I ended up giving it 4.75 stars. Honestly, I don't know what about this one made it not a 5-star. It just didn't hit the same. I think it was a little bit of a pacing issue. It was a little bit too long, or maybe like a little bit of something else should have happened where I was like, okay, like you're together and you're happy. Be happy, be together. The end. But it like just kept going. So yeah, 4.75 for this one. I did really enjoy it. And now on to this one that I picked for my standalone, I believe was the prompt for this one. I need you to read this. Ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. Loved this one. It was so fast paced, so addictive, like super, super interesting. But the one thing I really could not wrap my brain around why the author would do this is there was a very obvious red herring character and then a very obvious red herring character where we were supposed to be like, oh my God, I don't know which one of these like super weird people is involved. No, one of them was so much worse than the other. One of them was way weirder, made way less sense. I just couldn't grasp why she was trying to throw us off the scent. Like, I was just kind of like, it's very obviously that person. Like, that person's what's up. I also really liked in the end how it all like kind of came together, and it was like a whole like full circle moment of like all these small little intricacies kind of tying together. Just how it all worked out. I did really enjoy that in the end. Still a fan. Still love Jessa Maxwell's writing. I know she has a new book coming out later this summer. So very excited to pick that one up as well, because I think she's an auto-buy author for me now. The next book that I ended up reading in the month of March was Blood Like Magic. So this one I ended up giving a 4-star. This one follows Voya, who is tasked with killing her first love in order to keep her family's magic. This one was really interesting. I didn't expect it to be set like in the future. Like it was like a totally alternate like timeline from ours, I guess. Like it's supposed to be, I think 2049 is the year that she says. And like everyone has these like built-in technology things. There's all kinds of mods you can do. You can change your genes. There's all kinds of like science stuff that has progressed well beyond what I think we'll be doing in the next 24 years. But also witches are kind of like normalized. Like not a lot of people talk about witches, but like witches know who the other witches are in town. They kind of have like their circle of witches that they kind of like have as a community. So that was super interesting, and I wasn't expecting it to be quite as futuristic and technology driven as it was. The main male character that we're following in this book, Luke, that Voya is trying to, fall in love with, he works as like a, I guess, prodigy. Like he's like the intern under this guy who owns this mega tech company. And so Voya decides that she's going to, have him be her first love because they are the most compatible people with each other, based on these new like compatibility tracker bracelets that the guy who owns the technology company has started. So it's super interesting how she decides, who her first love is. The one thing I really did not like about this book, and the main reason it's 4 stars, is the fact that Voya is literally always trying to do what's best for other people, and everyone in her life is against her. Like, they act like they're not, but they tell her to her face, you can't make choices. You suck at making decisions. Girl, because she's trying to do what you want, and you're not telling her what you want her to do. Like, she's 16. I knew this was YA, but Homegirl is 16 years old and trying to make decisions for her grandma, for her mom, for her dad and his new wife, for her aunts and her uncles and her cousins. Like, Homegirl has an entire family tree on her shoulders, and everyone's doubting her. And I was like, that's heavy. Like, she's a child. She's a kid. Leave her be. But I will be picking up the sequel. I believe it's a duology, which I wasn't anticipating. I knew it wasn't a standalone, but I did not realize that it was going to end in such a way that I was like, I have to pick up the sequel. I need to go get it. So I've been waiting to find one in the wild, like at Half Price Books or something, but like just haven't come across it yet. And also the other thing that I was not a super huge fan of with this book that I think we'll get more into later was the falling in love aspect. Like, she's supposed to be falling in love, but she only sees this guy like a handful of times. And most of the time they end up talking about a secret in her own family tree. They're trying to figure out something with one of her relatives and why she like has no memory of this relative, why there's no, history written down of this relative, because they have all of their like histories for their families archived. And so like she has access to like literally everything she could want to know about all of her family and everyone she's related to, but she can't find one particular person. And so they end up trying to solve that mystery as to why there's no record of this one person. But that's like really all they do when they're together. And I was like, I thought she was supposed to be falling in love. Like I'm missing something here. So I'm hoping that the sequel will have more of a romance element, just because if the summary says she's going to kill her first love, where's the love? We're not falling in love. We're like barely hanging out. So that was my other only critique. But overall, a strong start to this little duology. The next one that I picked up was On the Line. This one was the friend like group chat picks my read. Ended up giving this one a 3.5 stars, which again is good, just not great. Just not great, unfortunately. I wanted to like it, but if I could summarize the story in like a couple sentences, I would literally say they would have been better off getting therapy. Like homegirls just needed therapy. So we are following James, and James is a college student, and she decides she's changing her major. So her dad decides we're cutting you off. Her dad says we're not paying for an art degree. You can go be an artist, but we're not paying for it. So she ends up deciding, okay, I'll move out on my own. I'm going to make it. She moves out on her own. She gets a job as a waitress at a restaurant that's like fancy, nice in town. And she, decides that she's going to forge her own way. Well, she has this dipshit asshole boyfriend named Zachary. He sucks. We hate him. We don't like her boyfriend when the story starts. He's terribly manipulative, super abusive to her, like just an all-around bad guy. And so then she starts hanging out with one of the like line cooks at the restaurant. His name is Ozzy. And they like immediately just have this like attraction to each other, this kind of like spark. They're super into each other, but they had to downplay it because obviously James is in a relationship. And Ozzy's like, okay, she's like this super like rich girl. He finds out she's rich pretty early in the story, I would say. He doesn't really understand why she's working at the restaurant, why she's doing what she's doing. But they end up, getting together. She's breaking up with her boyfriend. She's going through like all of these big life changes. But I'm like, girl, you should go to therapy. Like, you have a lot of stuff that you actually need to work on. And Ozzy had a lot of stuff he needed to work on too. Like, he had like family drama that was going on in the background, but they just like pushed through it and just didn't go to therapy. And then at the end, they were like, we're going to be different than our families. No, you won't. No, you should have done therapy. You should have gone to therapy. Like, just like a little bit. Like, you don't need to be like locked up. You don't need to be institutionalized. But like, talk to someone about it. Also, my other gripe with the story, and this is the hill I will die on, because I really can't shake this image from my mind. They kept talking about Ozzy wearing a bandana. Ozzy was always wearing some bandana. I'm imagining Prison Mike from The Office. I am so sorry. Like, if bandanas do it for you, don't let me yuck your yum. But oh my god, I was literally imagining Prison Mike every time they mentioned the bandana, which was so many times. So many times a bandana got mentioned. I kept being like, oh, Prison Mike. I just kept thinking Prison Mike. I don't know. It's supposed to be based off The Bear, that one TV show that everyone loves. I don't think that actor's that hot to begin with. So just talking about him wearing a bandana was just giving Prison Mike like the whole time, which is unfortunate because I know a lot of people really like it. The next book that I picked up after On the Line was Mile High. This one is the first book in the Windy City series, and I ended up giving it a 4.5 stars. This one follows Xander's, and he is on the hockey team, and Stevie is their flight attendant, and this is the first year that they're doing the same plane and same like crew for the entire season. So Xander's meets Stevie, immediately finds her intriguing, and decides, I'm going to get this girl's attention. And so he starts bothering her on the plane, pushing his call button, getting her to like do stuff for him when like they're not regular flight attendants where they're bringing you like your little snacks. Like, he's supposed to be doing all this stuff himself. They're really only there for like safety reasons. And he should be able to, get himself his extra pillow, get himself a drink out of the cooler, all that stuff. And they're just fighting their attraction for each other, kind of battling it out because Stevie obviously wants to get involved with Xander. She thinks he's super hot. but there's no fraternizing between players and the flight attendants. Xander's kind of has to, change his little bad boy image that he's, kind of known for with hockey in order to convince Stevie that he is actually a good guy. I will admit, I do understand why people don't like this book. Like, I see it. But I did not have those same qualms. I know a lot of people don't like how Xander's acts in the beginning, but he truly is keeping up his like bad boy, tough guy kind of persona. Like, he's known for being a womanizer. He's known for being mean and rude and not nice. And so he's just keeping it up. And I think that this was the wake up call that he needed to not be like that. And so he does have a lot of growth in the book. And I did also enjoy, we get introduced to the next book in the series, Their People, because the next book in the series is following Stevie's brother, Ryan, and Indy, who is the other flight attendant on the plane for the hockey team. So the sequel is going to follow those two. Hopefully we'll get glimpses of them in The Right Move, which is the sequel. And then I believe there's 5 books in that series total. So hopefully we'll keep seeing Xander's and Stevie as they go on. The last book that I've picked up this month is Beautiful Villain. This one is a Great Gatsby retelling, but with vampires. I don't know how I didn't know this was vampires. Like, it literally says on the back, the heat, the decadence, the vampires. And that's like a blurb from the author of Trial of the Sun Queen. Like, how did I not read that? I don't get it. But basically, in this retelling, they go through all of the motions of The Great Gatsby in the first, like, third to first half. And the main guy, Jay Gatsby, he is a vampire. He has kind of discovered some technology that makes it super hard to, kill people. They're able to, heal, regenerate very quickly. And he's able to make a lot of money on, selling it as kind of like an insurance policy for people who, want that kind of like benefit of, living for a very long time. Homegirl Daisy knew him when he was a kid, knew him when he was, struggling in the slums, and she like wants to reconnect. So they're able to, reconnect, have their little love story. It ended up being really good. I gave this one 4.5 stars. The only thing that I did not enjoy with this one was it seemed like the villain came out of nowhere. Like, we're going through the retelling of The Great Gatsby. Jay comes clean about all of his stuff. And then they're good to go for like, I don't know, a solid like 50 pages. And then all of a sudden there's a bad guy. And like, we'd barely heard of him in the first like half. And I had to be like, okay, who is this man? Like, what is going on here? But there is like a conflict with other vampires that happens toward the end. I think that there should have been more leading up to the main big thing. But it all felt really rushed in the end, and it felt like it was just the big final confrontation. And I was like, oh, okay, we've never met that man before, but cool, great. Oh well, overall, did enjoy it, gave it a 4.5 stars. So those are all of my March reads, and now we're going to go ahead and get set up to do our TBR for April. Okay, so now that we're done with the wrap-up portion of the video, let's get on with our TBR. So I have my 2 dice. I'll go ahead and shake them up and see what our first roll gets us. So we have 1 and 6. So 1, 6, film, TV or film adaptation. TV or film, ooh. Okay, when I originally put this prompt on here, I picked that prompt for Red, White, and Royal Blue and Dark Matter. I've read both of those books so far this year. So let's see what I've got for TV or film adaptation, because I'm not even too sure what I could possibly have at this point. Be right back. So I found 2 that I think will work for this prompt. So the 2 that I found that would fit the prompt of film or TV adaptation is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. This one is obviously a film on Netflix. Oh my gosh, the sticker on this one is actually a sticker. I've had this book for literally like years, and I thought that this was like printed on the cover. She's a sticker. Okay, I'm going to take the sticker off if I pick this book. But the other one that I found is the one I think I'm going to go with. And this one, unfortunately, its Netflix logo is not a sticker. I know that for sure. But is Six of Crows. So this one is on my 25 books to read in 2025. But I also know that the Shadow and Bone TV series follows the Six of Crows storyline as well. So I think we're going with Six of Crows. Time for our second prompt. Let's go ahead and give these a good shake. We got 6 and 2. So 6 and 2. YA. Yes, 6 and 2. It's a YA book. So let's take a look at the shelves and see what young adult stuff we've got. I'm sure there's plenty. So for our prompt of a YA book, I have 3 options. The first one that I picked up is The Hawthorne Legacy. This one's the sequel to the Inheritance games. Because we already have a fantasy on the TBR, I didn't want to overload myself on fantasy because it is like spring now. I feel like fantasy is a little bit more of a fall winter kind of vibe, and I wanted to keep it a little bit lighter on fantasy. So I'm thinking maybe this mystery thriller. The other options that I have are both kind of more in the romance space, though. The next one is Woke Up Like This. This one is by Amy Leah, and this one is from my January birthday book haul, where it's about 2 high school students who wake up in their 30s. And then the last one that I have is Heartstopper Volume 1. So this one, I could have done this one for the TV adaptation because there is a show. Oh my God, I'm dumb. Okay. Well, this one is a graphic novel about 2 high schoolers, I believe. But I don't know if I'm feeling a graphic novel right now. Like, it sounds like a good time, but I don't know if I'll be in a graphic novel mood this month. I'm thinking I'm leaning more towards Woke Up Like This. I think this one caught my attention right away. It's giving 13 going on 30. It's giving like just classic 2000s rom-com vibes. So I think we're going to go with Woke Up Like This. Let's go ahead and roll the dice to pick our next prompt. Oh, 6 and 6. A lot of 6s today. What is up with this? Okay, 6 and 6 is Fable. So let me go ahead and pull up the Fable app and do a little screen recording. Okay, Fable's loading. Oh my God, someone's cat. This is the cutest cat I've ever seen in my life. The Women by Kristen Hanna. I don't own that one, unfortunately. Oh, someone spilled chicken noodle soup on their book. Okay, that's actually really depressing. I'm so sorry that happened to you, babe. Heartless Hunter, I've already read it. Deep End, I've read it. Nocticadia, I have that one. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and run to the bookshelves and grab it. Okay, yeah, I fully forgot how chunky she is. This is so thick. But I'm very glad I didn't go with fantasy for the YA option, because I know that this one is a more dark, gothic, fantasy-ish vibe. But I'm very excited to pick this one up and have this one on the TBR. Now let's go ahead and roll again. That was our 3rd book, so we're about halfway done picking our TBR. This is going really quick. Okay. 5 and 6. What is going on with 6? 5, 6. Goodreads. Screen recording again. Goodreads is going to think for a minute. Okay. Nowhere, I don't own that one. Those Empty Eyes, I don't own that. Blue Sisters, no. Fireborn, no. I do really want to read The House of My Mother, but I do not own it. Dinner with Vampires, The Bane Witch, Quicksilver I've already read. Don't own Beautiful Ugly. Don't own The Daughter. Don't own any of these. I do own Daisy Darker. That is our first one that we've seen on Goodreads that I do own. So let me grab Daisy Darker. Perfect. So now we have Daisy Darker as our 4th book on the TBR. Okay, the TBR is low-key feeling a little dark and a little heavy, so fingers crossed this next roll gives us something cute and light and fluffy to balance out everything we've got, because we only really have one cutesy book with our YA. 4 and 6. Okay, we're just doing the whole bottom row. 4 and 6. YouTube book recommendation. Okay, I think I can find something light and fluffy that's a YouTube book recommendation. Let's go look at the shelves and see what we've got. Okay, so I have 3 options for a YouTube recommendation. The first one that I have is Reckless. This is the 4th book in the Chestnut Spring series. I know this one's super popular on YouTube. This one follows Theo Silva and Winter. Theo is the kind of, I guess, mentee for Rhett in Flawless, and Winter is Summer, the main FMC from Flawless's sister. So this one is, I believe, surprise pregnancy trope. But I don't know, maybe I'm in the mood for that. I think we could get behind this one. But the other two that I have are strong contenders. Like, this is not going to be an easy pick. The next one is The Right Move. I know I literally just finished Mile High, but I think I might want The Right Move. Like, this one just sounds so fun. It's a basketball romance because Ryan is a basketball player. And like I said, Indy is the flight attendant for the hockey team, best friends with his sister. And I feel like I just see this one on YouTube all the time. And the last one that I have is Lights Out. I know this one blew up a while ago, but I kept putting off reading it. I thought I was going to add it to last month's TBR, and I ended up not. But I do still really, really want to read this. I just don't know if I'm going to want to read it after having whatever darkness is in Nocticadia. I don't know how dark that one gets, and I don't know if I'm going to want to read a dark romance after doing a dark mystery, fantasy, whatever the heck Nocticadia is. I really don't know. So I think I'm between these two, which is so tough. So hard. I really don't know. It has been a minute since I've done a cowboy romance. I didn't do one last month, right? I've talked myself into it. We're going with Reckless. I might regret this, but I haven't done a cowboy romance since February when we did Done and Dusted. And I just had such a good time, and I just hear such good things about this one. So we're going to go with this one. Okay, so that was book number 5 added to the TBR. So let's go ahead and roll and get our 6th one. 3 and 1. So 3, 1. Pink! We have pink on the cover. Okay, that's so cute. I know I have tons of pink on the cover. So let's look at the shelves and see what pink book we can add. So we have kind of a lot of books with pink on the cover. The first one that I picked up is This Blood That Binds Us. This is the first in a 4-book series, but I feel like I just did another vampire book. So I don't want to get too burnt out on vampire things, since I'll have to commit to 4 books when I read this one. The rest of the ones that I picked up, for the most part, are romances. I picked up Home Run Proposal by Maren Moore. This one is a baseball romance. Since I opted out of doing a sports romance with The Right Move, I figured this one might be a good option for a sports romance for me. The next one that I have is The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Simeon-Broca. This one is the author duo that did the Breakup Tour. They've done Do I Know You? And this is the other one of theirs that I know of. I think they have a new one that just came out this month. I can't remember when it came out, but I believe that one is also a second chance romance where the girl is into books, I think. Don't quote me on that. I've only seen a couple people talk about it. But this one's an option because it's about 2 authors who are contracted to write another book together, but they've broken up. So I believe they go to a resort. They hole up in a tiny Florida town to write their next book since they're due for another one. So that's an option. We also have Primetime Romance. This one is from, again, my January birthday book haul, where a girl is going through a divorce and she decides to watch her favorite 2000s teen soap to kind of get herself out of her slump. And she ends up being teleported into the show. And then the last one that I picked up is By a Thread by Miss Lucy Score. Another pretty chonky one, but I feel like this one might fly by. I feel like most of her books end up going by a lot quicker than they feel like they will. But this one is about a girl who I believe gets fired from her job by this guy, and then his mom finds out and hires the girl to work for him and the company that they own. This one's on my 25 books to read in 2025. And then the last book that I ended up picking up with pink on the cover is from, again, my birthday book haul. This one is Murder in the Dressing Room. This one is a mystery about, I guess, drag queens. A drag queen solves mysteries. So let's take a peek. Let's look at what we have on the TBR already. We do technically have 3 romances. So I don't want to go too romance heavy. But I also don't think I want another fantasy. I don't know. I think with the fantasies and the darker romance and the thriller, it might be nice to just have a super straightforward, easy romance, but also I have that with Reckless. I'm trying to go with ones that I have had on my TBR for a while. And by that logic, I should go with By a Thread, because almost all of these are newer purchases, newer additions to the collection. So I think we're going to go with By a Thread by Miss Lucy Score. I hope I don't regret that, because holy crap, this thing's thick. She's added to the stack. She's on the TBR. So let's go ahead and do our next roll. That was book 6. So we're rolling for book 7. 6 and 4. Did we have that one already? 6 and 4. This one's the under 300 pages. So let's see. That might actually work out in our favor. You know, I was just complaining that By a Thread is a little too long for me, but this balances it out with an under 300 page book. So let's take a look at the shelves, see what we can come up with. Okay, so for the under 300 pages prompt, I'm not going to lie, I did struggle a little bit finding books because we picked 2 under 300 pages last month, but I found 3 that I think are contenders. I think one is a clear front runner from the other ones, but we'll see how it all shakes out. The first one that I have is Sweet Addiction. Again, this one breaks my rules of men on the cover. I don't like real people on the cover, like ever, especially men. Sorry, not sorry. I just think it's tacky and kind of icky. I don't want this man looking at me. Like he's just sitting on my shelves judging me. No, I hate that. So this one is a curvy single mom, wounded hero, brother's best friend romance. I got this in my reveal box when I was doing reveal. And I haven't liked any of the books that I got from them, which is why I stopped, unfortunately. But this one is one that I saw potential in because I do love Brother's Best Friend. So we'll see. The next one that I have is the same one from last time. This is one of the ones we did not pick. But this one is The Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion to a Werewolf. I think this one might be really fun. I know that I literally was just bagging on fantasy, but at 170? Yeah, 168 pages. I'll just breeze right through this. It's so cute and small. And then the last one that we have is Swift and Saddled. This one I believe comes in at 285, so we're under the 300 pages, but we do already have a cowboy romance on the TBR. So for that reason, it's going to be a no for Swift and Saddled, and it's also going to be a no for Sweet Addiction. Yeah, that's what this one's called, Sweet Addiction, because I feel like this one just makes the most sense. I've had this one for the longest. It's the shortest. Quick, easy breezy. Okay, so now it's time for our last roll. I can't believe we're already at 7. See how this goes. 5 and 3. 5, 3. This one's a free pick. Okay, very interesting. That does not really help me at all. I would have liked to get that one at the beginning. But also, it's nice that I got this late in the game, so I can add whatever the heck I want based on what I currently have on the TBR. So I'm not swinging too far in one direction, whether it's romance or fantasy or thriller. But now I'm going to need a minute to look at the shelves and see what I'm feeling. I'm not going to lie, that was pretty difficult. But I think in the back of my head, I knew exactly what I wanted to kind of break up everything else we have going on the TBR. So I picked to add Remarkably Bright Creatures to the TBR. This one is a literary fiction, again, from my birthday book haul, so probably not my greatest choice. But this one features I believe she's a widow who's grieving the loss of her husband, and she forms a bond with the octopus at the aquarium she's been volunteering at. So I think this one's going to be super fun. I'm very excited to pick it up. Came highly recommended from one of my coworkers who probably isn't even watching this. But hey, Dr. Miller, thanks for the book recommendation. I'm finally going to read it like I said I would 2 months ago. Great. Good times. So to wrap up the TBR, my free pick was Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. The next book that we had to pick was a book under 300 pages, so we went with The Time I Got Drunk and Needed a Love Potion and a Werewolf by Kimberly Lemming. The next prompt we got was Pink on the Cover, So we went with By a Thread by Lucy Score. The book we picked for a YouTube recommendation was Reckless by Elsie Silver. The book that we picked for our prompt of first book we saw on Goodreads was Daisy Darker. The book that we got for the prompt of first book we saw on Fable was Nocticadia by Carrie Late. The book we picked for the YA book prompt was Woke Up Like This by Amy Leah. And then the book that we picked for a TV show or film adaptation is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. All right. Oh my God, looking at this book stack is like insane. Like I can't even explain how there's so many different genres in this stack. Like literally this is such a weird amalgamation of every single type of book ever. But here we are. Just everything all the time. It's going to be a really good reading month in April, I hope, with this much to choose from. Definitely won't be boring. That's for sure. Comment the little octopus emoji. I'll put a picture up so you know what I'm talking about, because I don't know if he's an octopus or like a squid or something, but do that octopus emoji for Remarkably Bright Creatures, because I'm very excited to get around to that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one real soon. Bye! Can I be so honest right now? I really don't like starting videos. I feel like I sound like a creepy robot selling you something. Like, how do I greet people in real life? I don't remember. I've never said hi to anyone ever before in my life, apparently, because I don't know how to start a YouTube video. Apparently, I do need a lot of help. Big Fee doesn't trust me to do the intro by myself. I need caffeine. You don't need caffeine. I need caffeine. Let's get this roasta cooking. I hate that I said that, but I just watched Drag Race, so I've been thinking about it. I've made a monster. My dog wants to be in all the videos now. What did I do to the corner of this one? Dang. Interesting. Sorry, I didn't read this physically and I didn't realize the chapter pages were black. That's really cool. Yeah, see? Cute. Okay. Back to story time. And correct me if I'm wrong. Like, maybe I just don't know what words mean, but I thought fraternizing was, like, getting together with. But, like, they act like they can't even be seen in the same building. Like, she has to sneak into his hockey games. She's, like, not supposed to watch the hockey games. Like, I don't get it. I feel like this is very close to me. It's still very close to me, but I'm not even putting them away. I'm literally just putting them in the chair. So that way they're off camera and y'all can't see them. Didn't that happen the last time I got Goodreads Picks My TBR and Fable Picks My TBR in like the same go? What is up with that? Okay. This one is the first in, I believe, a quartet, a quad, whatever it is when there's 4 books in a series, by Emerly? I don't know why I keep hiccuping. It's a mystery kind of book. Oh my God, I have the hiccups again. I'm just going to die. That's fine.